Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the No Agendas podcast, episode 10, going strong. I welcome everyone in the comments. Please hit the smash the like button as usual. Keep the comments coming. It helps us drive the conversation forward. I've got my main man Chanel here on his debut on the No Agendas. We've got Brian joining in a minute. It's a very short staff today, so we're just gonna have as much conversation as we can, and you guys can just give us the comments, and that will help us keep the conversation going as well. Janelle, welcome, my guy. What you saying, man?
Yeah, good evening. Nothing much really.
Yeah,
How's your day been?
yeah, all right, man. All right, long day at work. I did a 12-hour day today at work. I'd never worked that long because I'm one of these people that when it's
Oh,
5 o'clock, I log off. I'm done.
gone.
I'm not giving anyone a minute on my time, bro. So but today was quite long today, so one of them ones. So how was yours? All right?
That's nice. Yeah, didn't have work today. Went out with the missus for breakfast.
Nice.
Did a little bit of shopping and yeah, looked at a few things that will all be revealed very soon.
There you go. Yeah, we'll go straight in. So news coming in and out, flashing in and out. 20 stories every day, same players. Stories change 5, 6 times a day. We don't know what's going on at any given time. Let's start with the De Jong saga. It's back up. It's back up again. Apparently,
Yeah.
Barcelona have to sell him now. That's what I'm being told. What's your thoughts?
Uh, I don't know where to start with this one because we spent all last summer discussing this on Spaces, reading newspapers, whatnot, just to find out what's going on. Um, I think it's a messy one, really. I don't think he's actually going to leave, if I'm honest. I just think this is just speculation. I don't think they have to sell him, or if they will sell anyone, it won't be him. They've got rid of Busquets, and I don't know if they've have signed anyone since.
No, no, they haven't.
Um,
Not in that
but
position anyway.
yeah, I can't see them really selling him, if I'm honest.
So, see, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this story, man. I'm sick of this story. I'm so sick of De Jong. I don't want him linked with this club anymore. And the disappointing thing for me is this is where sometimes I look at Ten Hag and think, bro, you're at Man United now. Things move quick here. You're gonna have to pick up the pace. I know you've got specific profiles of players, and he gets quite obsessive with the kind of player that he wants and stuff. But you know what? At Manchester United, you have to move on. You're gonna have to learn to just forget it, move on to the next target because it's not a healthy. I don't think it's a healthy link anymore. It was good when we were linked with him last transfer window and before that, but I think it's just unhealthy now, and I think we should help. Just respectfully move on to other targets. I can see someone in the comments saying why are people acting like we've been linked with him, but we have been linked with him because the story's coming out of Barcelona. 3 newspapers reporting it, saying it's back on. He has to leave the club. So I think if he was leaving Barcelona, I can't see a more suitable destination than Manchester United for him. But for me, I'm just sick of the whole debacle. It's getting a bit ridiculous. And I don't actually think I don't know. I don't think he would make that much of a difference to the team, if I'm honest. I know he's a good player, but I don't see this thing that everyone sees in him in our team. It's just one of those things that I have no faith in the fact that he would change our team completely at all. I really don't. I think Caicedo would probably change our team way more, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you think.
Um, I think he will improve us personally. I think Casado would be a good addition, but in terms of Frankie de Jong, he offers a bit more than Casado. Not just defensively, personally. I think he can receive the ball in tighter positions than Casado, and he can
Yeah,
actually drive through midfield. He's quite strong on the ball, I know people may think that he's quite skinny, so he might not be strong.
No,
But
he's strong. I've seen him.
yeah,
He's quite. Yeah, he stands his ground a lot. A lot.
yeah.
A
I
lot.
just believe that he would be the addition that we needed in midfield. Um, Him, Casemiro, and everyone's favourite Bruno Fernandes would be the three. But obviously, my my opinion, I wouldn't have Bruno in there. But yeah,
Do you
that's
think? Do you
another
think
topic.
that if do you think that if De Jong De Jong came into this squad and does that change? Does that change Bruno's role in the team? And if if De Jong came in and he was starting games, so you're playing a midfield of De Jong, Casemiro, and Bruno, does that change Bruno's importance to the team? Do you think?
Um, I believe he will take up slightly different positions because I just prefer him rather in the final third than him trying to drop deep, and because I don't think he needs to do that. But he has needed to do that because we haven't had the midfield that can actually get the ball from defence to the final third with any quality. So he has had to drop deep. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it will change his importance personally, but for me, I always see Bruno's importance as in the final third, nothing more.
Like Danny's just commented to say De Jong makes the game easier for Bruno. I agree with that actually. I think the biggest for me, because my biggest concern with De Jong coming in is obviously I always worry about the Premier League in terms of players adapting. And I know that's a cliche statement, but I do, I always think the Premier League, it's not that it's a better or harder league. I think it's just a very different way of playing football, especially for
Just
midfielders, I
intense.
think. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
more intense. I think the midfield is everything in the Premier League. So if you get a midfielder in from a different league, it can be challenging for them to adapt to the intensity. It's not hard or easy, it's just more intense. And I think that can be very, very hard. So my concern with him would be, would he come in and immediately enhance the team? Because I think the season that we're going into, Man City being on form of their life and Chelsea buying quite wisely, you're looking at Arsenal looking to make the right additions to their team if they manage to get Rice, which is a huge thing for, if you look at midfield competitions in the Premier League. So it has to be it has to be hitting the ground running. So he has to come in and make the difference immediately. You can't have there's no, the competition is so stiff at the moment that you can't there isn't room for maneuver. You have to get it right first time every time. So I don't know if he comes in and he immediately has the impact that we would like him to have. So that's my concern with him. When it comes to him as a footballer, ability wise, I think he's great. I've seen him, on the swivel. He's one of the best I've seen. He's good on the ball. He's got a good eye for a pass, and he's also quite good at, which is probably not what people talk about enough. He wins a lot of area duels, which is quite strange because he's not the biggest lad. So, I have concerns, but also I know that the good things about the player are there, and if he could hit the ground running, I think he would probably make a good addition to the team. But I just worry that he might not be able to hit the ground running. That's my concern.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Now, speaking of all the transfers, we'll move swiftly on to Mason Mount. Obviously, we've another story that just I don't know what's going on. I don't believe what's being reported specifically. What I believe is the last piece that's come out now, where we've said, look, the bid is on the table. Think about it. Let us know what you think. I believe that Manchester United have probably done that. Uh, Mason Mount, if you compare him to De Jong, adding him into the team, what kind of impact do you think Mount would have that De Jong might not have, or do you think they would have similar impact into the team?
For me, just looking at both players, um, I don't see Mount having that much of an impact. In terms of, I don't know what he's actually good at, if I'm honest. He's a hard one because
Yeah.
he can play out wide. He can play, as you would say, in the 10, but he can also play as an 8. Um, I don't think he offers anything brilliant other than work rate. That's all I can really picture him being in there for. He can pass, but I wouldn't say it's to a high standard, but that's just myself. So I
So
wouldn't say he would
to you,
improve me.
are you saying 55 million ridiculous, absolutely not worth it?
Personally, I think we should be out of the running for him with that type of money. He's got a year left. I know obviously you've got that he's English regular in the obviously national team. He's also won majors with Chelsea, which could be the reason why his value is so high with a year
Yeah.
on. But I would say 35, 40 million tops personally, with a guy like him year on his contract. But if Chelsea are going to play hardball and look for more money, I just think we
Which
should
is
be
what
out of
they're
the
doing.
running.
Which is
Yeah.
what they're doing, isn't it? They're looking to get more. But I was
Oh,
saying I feel like the Man United tax is applying in this case, the Mount case, because I genuinely believe that if these negotiations were happening with Bayern Munich, this deal would have been done at the same price by now. And
yeah.
I feel like the Man United tax is applying, and I've got no basis for this. This is just how I view the situation. I've got no information to back this up whatsoever. So don't kill me in the comments. But I genuinely think that Bayern Munich could have done that deal at 50 million and it would have been done. It would have been fine. It's just it's Manchester United. They all want, and I don't even think it's about the money. I think it's just the fact that it's Manchester United. Honestly, I take it so personally the way that clubs deal with us. It's very frustrating. But Mount, for me, Danny said it right. Like Mount is a strange player. He's Mason Mount is an enigma. Like, to me, I can't, just like you, I can't tell you exactly how I think he plays as a player. I can tell you the things I think he's got, which I think would be helpful to our team. But I also do worry that maybe if he does come in and then the Bruno problem starts. For me, I can see the Bruno problem starting in the sense that how does he expect to set up if Mount comes in? Because if Mount comes in, are we saying that we're leaving Casemiro at the base and having them playing further ahead? Or are we saying we're playing him and Casemiro at the base and Bruno stays forward, or the other way around, where Bruno sits deeper because he seems to play better that way sometimes? How is Ten Hag going to do it? Because Mason Mount ain't coming to Manchester United to sit on the bench. He's going to play. So if he is going to play, how is he going to play? Welcome, Brian, man.
How's it
Welcome, Brian,
going?
to the stream. Welcome, man. You're right.
Yeah, doing good. How are y'all?
Yeah, good.
Good, mate.
We've got Chanel's debut today, so
Oh,
Chanel,
welcome, Chanel.
welcome,
Good to see you,
welcome
man.
to Chanel. But yeah, we're just talking about Mason Mount, just how you see the deal, what he brings to the team, what he doesn't bring to the team. Is it worth 55 million? Chanel's
Oh, good.
basically said, no, not worth it. Too much money for him. He doesn't see the importance. So
uh,
yeah, I'll leave it over to you, my bro.
yeah, I'm glad. So what you're basically telling me is that I came into the show at the right time. We're talking about Mason Mount. This is good.
At the very right time. At the very right time.
I don't know. I do think 55 million is. I feel like 55 million is more than fair for Mason Mount, considering some of the fees that um, some of his compatriots are going for, or being quoted at around the Premier League. Um, in midfield, I know he's a different profile of midfielder than, say, a Declan Rice, or even a recently relegated James Ward-Prowse, or different things like that. But I mean, in my mind, like, and I could be completely making this up, but if a player like James Ward-Prowse, who just played for a Southampton side that got relegated, would go for 50, why wouldn't Mason Mount go for 55? You know,
Thank you very
so
much.
so for me, it doesn't make sense to argue that that would be outrageous. Now, I think Chelsea are just trying to push Man United to buckle and give more money, and Man
Yeah.
United are right to stay within their range. But as far as what he brings,
Sorry, did you say
go ahead.
55 million is too much, or are you saying that's
I
around
don't
the
think so.
ballpark?
I think
Yeah,
that's more
okay.
than fair. I think that's more than fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that on the back of, if a player like James Ward-Prowse, who just played for a pretty poor Southampton side, would go for 50, could go for 50, I don't see why
Yeah.
Mount couldn't go for 55. But I do think that Mount improves us. Like, I don't necessarily think he would improve us to the levels of a Frankie De Jong, for example, but I do think that he would improve the team. I don't necessarily know if Mount would be as effective in the final third as some of our other players would be, but I don't think that we would necessarily have to worry about that as much, given some of the players that we have and their effectiveness in the final third. So I think
Yeah.
Mount, in the phases of play that I feel like Manchester United are weakest in, that Mount would bring us up a level in those phases of play, at least.
So
I
if you
do
get
think he would help us.
so if you get Mason Mount, how are you setting up the midfield for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it's a midfield three, you would probably have Casemiro, Bruno, and Mount in there. And let me tell you, if that was a midfield three, that midfield would have a heck of an engine on it with those three players. So, because one of the things I think too about Mason Mount, like in regards to his skill set, and I'm not like an expert on Mason Mount by any means, but one of the things that I think that Mason Mount would endear him to Manchester United fans quickly is his tenacity and his work rate. And a
Yeah,
lot of
work
our
rate. Yeah.
midfielders and players in general have been criticized rightly by Manchester United fans for not working hard enough. And that's not just this season, that's been previous seasons as well. And a lot of these players have been around since then. So I think that Mount would come in, and his tenacity and his work rate would endear him to fans early. And I think that would buy him a little bit of time to continue to bed into the team, to be able to truly show what he's capable of in the team. And so I feel like his tenacity and his work rate would add an engine to the engine room that Manchester United would need in midfield, especially in those matches against bigger teams. I say bigger teams, but against more difficult opposition, where we're not expected to have a whole lot of the ball. We're going to be chasing the game for large portions, and we need players who are going to come in and just, put in some sweat equity. I think Mount would be more than capable of doing that for Manchester United. I do
think that's
on
what
the
Chanel
ball,
said as well. That's
he
what Chanel
improves
said as well, to say the thing that comes to mind is he works hard, basically. That's all. That's the only good thing Chanel can think about of Mason Mount, is that he works pretty hard, which is fair enough in it. But speaking of working hard, obviously the other midfielder that we've been linked with is Caicedo. Now that obviously the Mason Mount deal's looking a little bit stagnant, like it's not going anywhere. I think Manchester United are doing the right thing, in my opinion, saying, this is the bag. That's the bag that we've got. It's not going to get any bigger than that. We'll leave it there on the table. You guys talk about it for the next 48 hours. Let us know what you think. And then we'll move on from there. I think that's the right approach, personally, because I don't think as a club we should allow selling clubs to treat us the way that they've been treating us over the last decade or so. So for me, this is the right approach. What do you guys think? Caicedo or bin the Mount deal, go for Caicedo, pay more money. He's obviously a better player, I think, in general, I think. Maybe a bit more suited to the Ten Hag way of playing. Depends on how he wants to set up the midfield. So can't say for certain, but I look at him as a bit more suited to the way that Ten Hag would want to deploy his midfield. What do you guys think? Caicedo, it's going close to 80 million is the figure I'm being told. What do you guys think?
I like the player. I think 80 is a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's just ridiculous, especially for a guy that's it's been a year and a half in the Premier League, or something like that. Yeah, I just wouldn't. What are we going to do with him? Is he going to play as an 8? Is he going to play, I don't know, a right back? Because I've seen him play there for Brighton, or right wing back. He's not going to play in the 10. Is he going to dislodge Casemiro? Probably doubt it. So what are we bringing him in to do? Sit on the bench? So an 80 million bench player to wait for another 18 to 24 months to Casemiro possibly leaves this club for him to then play? I'm offering him 50 mil. Take it or leave it. I'm sorry, I'm not offering anything like 80 million for him. If they don't want to take it, obviously they won't, because of money they've got in the past for quite average players, if we're honest. I'd just walk away and just go and find someone else. I just wouldn't pay the 80 million for him.
Do you know what? As a club, I don't know how they do it at Brighton, man. So the prices they're charging for their players is quite. When you think about it, it's a lot of money for the player. If you look at it, really, a lot of these players, we're only talking about them last season. We didn't really talk about them before that. So they've had one really, really good season, maybe two, but they've had, a couple of really good seasons. And all of a sudden we're talking, 80 million for McAllister and 80 million for Caicedo. And, they're doing something right over there at Brighton. I'll give them respect for that. But Brian, to you, 80 million Caicedo, talk to me.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Honestly, this is where my brain goes. I legitimately think that Manchester United are doing this. I don't think we have any intention of signing Caicedo. I think we're doing it to be petty.
Yeah.
I really do. I think we're doing it to be petty because Chelsea don't want to sell us Mount for a reasonable fee, so we're going to hinder or at least slow their ability to sign Caicedo. That's why I think that we're in for him. I don't actually. That's my. But I will say this: every time Caicedo plays against Manchester United, he has an incredible game, and that's really annoying.
God, he
it's
had
really
a great game. Oh my goodness, he had an amazing game. And you know what, that's the game because I don't get gassed about players. I think the only player I've probably got over gassed by is Højlund, because I've gone and watched a lot of his games just to see how he plays. But I don't get gassed. So when everyone's talking about, Brighton are doing this, look at their midfield, and I was like, yeah, what? And then when we played against him and I saw the way he plays, I was like, right, okay, he's a proper player, man. He's a good player. Because we weren't awful in midfield in that match. We weren't awful at all. So it was a real eye opener for me. I thought, right, okay, he's actually a proper player. He's a good player. But yeah, I think 80 million is just ridiculous. It's stupid. I don't think you should be talking about those kind of prices for players that have had one or two good seasons in the Premier League. And really, if you look at it, what are the teams that have come in for him? Really, who's come in for him? Chelsea,
Arsenal. Arsenal last January. Yep.
Yeah,
but they priced him out of a move as well. They priced him out of a move, Brighton did.
The Arsenal link wasn't even that. It wasn't that serious to me when I looked at it. So it's just like, who else is? If they're so good, why is no one else coming in for them? So sometimes I just think the Premier League gets carried away a little bit, and we go too far with these prices. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But with the obviously midfield is going to be a talking point forever for Manchester United at the moment, because we still haven't fixed our midfield problems that we've always had. So Rabiot is the other one. Now this one, I know that it splits the pie right in the middle. I know this is literally it divides crowds in half, because some people like him, some people absolutely want nothing to do with him. Brian, I'm going to go to you first with Rabiot. What's your thoughts?
I think he's a good player. I do. I think he's a good player. I think if he came in, he would add a level of physicality to the midfield that maybe we don't have when you look across. Um, I think some of our most physical players, as far as stature goes, probably the most physical is Scott McTominay, and we've seen that, like, despite despite all of his deficiencies with the ball at his feet, especially in midfield, that his sheer size makes him incredibly press resistant. That's actually one of his best qualities. And I think that Rabiot comes in and he's actually good with the ball, but he's also got that physical stature that would aid him in the Premier League. And I think
how tall is he? Do you know?
I think he's 6'1", 6'2", somewhere around there. I don't think he's as tall as McTominay, but I think his stature is somewhere around that. So I think he's got good stature, and that would aid him for the physicality of the league. And he's a good player. I do. I think Rabiot's a good player. I know that he's got some weird, like, reputation stuff surrounding him, but I mean, all things
What
considered,
is it though?
I think
it's not the
like,
actual player that's the problem.
No, it's not the player. I feel like with Rabiot, if he would have come in instead of Sabitzer, I think he would have been more effective. I think he would have been more effective.
I can see that. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it would have
been. I think it would have been more effective. And considering Sabitzer's flexibility and his ability to play really all across the spine in midfield, I was actually surprised. And I know he got really unlucky with injuries in the run-in, but I was actually surprised in how ineffective he was at times. He didn't take his opportunities when they came to him. I think that Rabiot might have been a bit more effective if we would have gotten him. But I think people made people made such an uproar about him. I think we turned away from him, but he's not a bad player at all.
No, he's from what I'm hearing is that Rabiot does want the move to Manchester United. He's asked for it, so he's told his people that he wants to move. I personally, I don't think it's a bad idea at all for him to come, because when I look at the midfield options on the market and what I know realistically we would go in for, I don't see many options really at all, because I don't think we will pay the money that we need to pay for to get someone like Caicedo, because they're talking about 80 million. Manchester United haven't got that kind of bread, so we know that. So we're not even looking at Caicedo. Well, I don't think we would go anywhere near him because the deal's too expensive. De Jong is going to be a fantasy again. You know, this is Disney all over. This is basically, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. That player's never going to leave Barcelona. He said he wants to stay at Barcelona. I don't think he wants to leave at all. So even if Barcelona have to sell him, I don't see that Manchester United would put up the money to make that deal happen. I just don't see it. Not now. Not unless Qatar come in and, they have their cape on and they rescue the day at some point late in the window. So Rabiot, absolutely, for me, no problem at all. I think that's a realistic deal that you could get done. And I think he would be more effective than what we got from Sabitzer. Not that he was bad particularly, but I just think he wasn't as effective as we would have liked him to be. Chanel, what's your thoughts on Rabiot?
I've liked the player for a little bit. I know everyone's going to look at his stature and everything and say physicality, but he's actually a good footballer. He's a solid footballer to what we have in the middle of our midfield. He can glide through midfield with the ball. That's something that we're missing. Obviously, I did mention that with De Jong. That's what he could add, but Rabiot would add that as well. The fact that Rabiot has... do you know what? I think it's a good signing. Let's say this: he can't be no worse than Fred or McTominay. We know he's better anyway, but look at what we've had to deal with. So if we're getting that,
well, you always got to take shots at my boys, man. Leave my boys alone, man. Stop taking shots at my guys, man.
I just think it's a good deal, and on a free. Obviously, you're going to have to pay his wages. So obviously an free, but a free transfer, so you don't have to pay no fee, then bring him in. I know people are just going to say, "Oh, Rabiot, he causes this." It's not actually Rabiot that's the problem that people have the problem with. It's his mum who's his agent. And let's be honest,
Yeah.
if your mum was your agent, wouldn't she try and get you the best deal that she could
Of
get?
course. So no, my mum would
So
be. My mum would be ripping contracts up left, right, and center.
exactly, and that's
Nah,
that's what.
she'd want the better. Nah, I know my mum. She'd be like that.
Yeah.
What? Do you not know my son? Are you joking, man? Don't play with me.
Exactly. And so that's
Yeah.
what your mum would do. And that's what your agent should do, because that's what you pay for your agent
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So people are just putting him in the same bracket as they did Paul Pogba, where you didn't really hate Paul Pogba. It was his agent that you really had the problem with, because he
Yeah,
didn't
that's
close
right,
his
yeah.
mouth.
I
So
know.
with
But
Rabiot, bring him in.
speak to just that comment about what wage you think he would accept. What do you think he would be? What should he be demanding if Rabiot came to Manchester United and signed a contract, 3-year contract? What do you think he should be demanding in a wage?
I honestly don't know how much he's actually on now, to try and say it should be this, but he's coming into Manchester United. He's playing in the Premier League, the most televised league in the world. He comes with accolades, put it that way. So I don't know what his image rights hold, but let's look at it this way: should he not ask for 200 grand, 250 maybe, after certain players in our team are on more? Do you know what I mean? Like we're paying a Martial who
Go on, say the
can't give
names. You
us.
can say the names. Say the names.
Okay, we're giving Martial, we're giving him what, 250 grand a week, and is Martial actually playing? Martial can't even accelerate anymore. That's a broken player, but we're still giving him.
Don't you think it's mental that Martial collects a weekly wage all this time now, and he just doesn't never plays football? It's can you imagine like just in your job if you just never did your job and you just get paid anyway?
I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave either. I don't blame him.
No, if you think about it, it's mental, isn't it? It's crazy.
I wouldn't leave.
It's crazy.
I wouldn't leave either,
it's
man.
Absolutely insane. It's insane. It's crazy.
One of the things, just to add to what Trinell's saying, I think some of the issues with this right now, I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but like none of these names from midfield signings really move anybody. Like the ones that are actually attainable, like Frankie de Jong moves people. He's a quality player, but we're not getting him, right? We're not getting him. And so
we're not.
Like Mount and Rabiot are attainable and they don't move people. That doesn't mean so just because a player doesn't move you doesn't mean that the player doesn't have something of value to give to the team. And I think sometimes we can confuse the two. Like the player has to move me in order for the player to be good. And I think that we're at this place right now because of lack of investment with the squad over a 10-year period, right? So like now we're at a place where we have massive gaps in profile and ability that need to be plugged all over the team. And there's only a select number of players that play in world football that can do that. And they're either unattainable. They're unattainable. So you need to get multiple types of players that don't move you to plug a gap or two. So like, like if Mount and Rabiot came into the team as two midfield signings, they would improve Manchester United. Individually, they might not move you as a fan on an individual level, but they would improve the team. And I think that's how we have to go into this window as fans, in my opinion, right? Like it would be great to get De Jong. It would be great to get a Kim Min-jae. We're probably not going to get those players, but who can we?
I have to say the Kim Min-jae one was very disappointing to me. It was a very, very disappointing. I was very disappointed that we stopped.
Is that disappointing because you wanted him, or is that?
Yeah, because and
he's good.
I like big defenders that are skillful. That's why I like Rio.
Yeah,
like
and he's good on FIFA, so he's good in real life.
He's good. No, he's the only one that's good on FIFA and good in real life. No, but you know what? I like defenders that are big, but they can, they've got technical ability. He's got technical ability. is so attractive to me in centre backs. That's why I liked Rio. I always say I always like Rio, and as much as I hate to say it, that's why I like Van Dijk. Is what because of that reason, because he can play with the ball. He can with the ball to his feet. So no, I like technical defenders. I think it's an attractive quality in defenders. With the Rabiot bid, would you what's the sacrifice for getting Rabiot in? Who's going out? Who are we getting rid of? Who's leaving?
Yeah, I think you got to get rid of the Chuckle brothers. They've got to be some of the first out of the door.
You've got to leave my guys alone, man.
I love Fred's work rate, but
you've got to leave
what does he offer?
Alone.
Do you know what I mean? It's only what game was it where he played that one pass, and this season, like Fred, you've had it's time for him and McTominay to go. Let's keep it back. And you know what? Also, Donny van der Beek, you ain't pulled up no trees when you've been here. Do you know what I mean? You look like you're literally a ghost.
I forget he plays for us. Sometimes I forget. I forget he plays for Manchester United. I do. Yeah. Genuinely, so many times I forget that he plays for Manchester United.
And so many times. And probably with just them three players, you could pay the fee for if you wanted to go and get the Casado. You could probably pay that. You probably get, I don't know, 30, 35 for Scott McTominay, 20 at a push for Fred, and possibly 20 again for Donny van der Beek. There you go. That's 75 mil. Then you can go and possibly get Casado, but that could also pay you for Mason Mount. So
why do you think we can't sell players? Why can't we sell players? Why do we not sell players? Other clubs are selling players. Why don't we sell players? What's the problem? What is it that
your guess is as good as mine?
How? I don't know. It's the strangest thing ever.
I don't know. Most probably we won't even sell McTominay, sell those same three that I mentioned. We'll probably loan them out, and then pay 75% of their wages probably. That's just what we do.
That's it. That right there is the key. So I'm thinking about these types of players, right? You look at Fred, McTominay. I'm just throwing out names, right? Just because they're coming up, right? We talk about Fred, McTominay, Donny van der Beek. You can even throw Harry Maguire in there. To my knowledge, if we're trying to sell, like, unless a team across the continent of Europe wants to sign a Harry Maguire, chances are we would sell him to a team in the Premier League, right? To my knowledge, Harry Maguire, I think, is the 10th highest earner at Manchester United. And his current wage is higher than the highest wages of most teams in the league. So if he comes in on the wage that he's getting at our club, he would be whatever team he goes to, he'd be their highest paid player. So they would have to move things around just to make him work financially. And I think that's the issue. If you have an Anthony Martial, who's one of our highest earners, and he can't even get a game in because he can't stay fit, how can we demand a fee for a player like that is fair for us and fair for a buying team and get the wages off the book? Like, at some point, Manchester United are going to have to, they might have to pull back a little bit when it comes to their asking price and probably say we will pay a percentage of their wages until their contract runs out at our club and then they're off our books just to get the players out the door. But I don't think that we're willing to do that. I think it's either we sell them in full and we can't because of our wage structure, or we keep them and they just take up space. And I think that's where we're at right now, because we can't get players off our wage book in full because of how we've paid them and structured our wages. They're just stuck. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
But I think the frustration for me is not just it's not just the fact that we can't get rid of players. It's more it's felt like there's no plan for the squad like for 10 years. Do you know what I mean? Like it never feels like there's a set plan for the squad. I mean, when Arteta went to Arsenal, I was laughing at him, but I could see the direction he was trying to go with his squad. I could see the kind of I could see the shape of his team, the age that he wants the average team to be. I could see all these little things in there in the direction that he was going. So you could kind of see the plan for the squad. It's not felt like that at Manchester United. Even when Ten Hag's come in, it just doesn't feel like there's a plan yet. And I know that there's a plan, obviously the club's being sold and things. So I know there's a lot of politics behind the scenes, but I don't see, I don't see the direction that the squad is taking from a playing perspective. I'm not talking about, the direction of the club in general, but just the playing staff. It doesn't feel like there's any plan for it at all. Like Fred, McTominay, even De Gea, all these, there's players just, they're there, but they're not really bringing a lot to them. And I love Fred, and I back Fred all the time. I defend, I'm in the FDL. I like Fred because he works so hard. He's Manchester United through and through, loves the badge, loves the fans. He's a great bloke, you can tell. But I don't think that they bring anything that another average player couldn't bring to the club. They're not bringing anything special to us, and we need special players as a club, because that's the only way we're going to start winning things again. It will take special players. It's not going to happen with average players, because it's just, we've tried for 10 years, it's not worked. So I know we need special players. So when I'm seeing these players, I'm thinking there's no direction for this squad whatsoever. So even like the links, like the Rabiot link, as much as I like him as a player, I just think, but are we just, we're covering, we're papering, what do they call it? You're covering little cracks when there's whole cracks in the wall. It's not going to go anywhere, because what you're doing is you're fixing a tiny little midfield problem, but actually there's a larger problem across the squad, and this is not going to be the way to do it. I mean, why we're not linked with goalkeepers in any solid way is beyond me. I don't understand why we're not going for a goalkeeper, because I think, even though it's not top of my list, I think it should be a conversation that the club are having, and I don't think that they are at the moment. So, yeah, it just lacks direction. But speaking of goalkeeper, David De Gea, there seems to be a bit of back and forth now with the club. It's going a lot longer than I expected it to go. Personally, I wouldn't have expected it to be some sort of saga. I thought it was going to be a contract negotiation very quickly. You're not playing well enough. We're going to reduce your wages. This is what we can offer you to stay at the club. What do you say? And I would have expected David De Gea to say, that's fine, I'll sign. Where do I sign? And he'll sign. And off he goes. He stays at the club. If another keeper comes in, then he can compete with that keeper for his starting place in the team. That doesn't seem to be what's happening, because what's actually happening is David De Gea's team are counter-proposing to Manchester United for a contract. So what do we think? What's your thoughts? I'll go to you, Tranel. What do you think?
I thought he was out the door. I'll be honest, I thought he was out the door a couple of days ago. Doors open again, and he's coming back through it. I don't know. The only thing I can see is possibly De Gea actually staying, accepting less wages, us bringing another goalkeeper in, and De Gea being the number 2. I just don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen. But that's what I believe. Put it this way, I believe that's what may happen in terms of him staying and bringing another goalie in. But who's to know actual club's going to come in and take De Gea? Like, he's on monstrous wages for a goalie as it is anyway. Why should he leave? Because if a club's got an offer on the table for you, like Man United, how much are we actually lowering his wages to what he's already on? To another team offering him a contract, are they matching what he's on at Manchester United, or what he potentially will be on at Manchester United after negotiating a new deal? So it's all in De Gea's if what he wants to do. But I can see a scenario of him staying, us bringing another goalie in, and De Gea possibly being number 2. That's just me.
Yeah. I personally think that there is there is a bit of bluffing here from his team at the moment, because I think if I'm his advisors, I am saying to him, don't sign a Man United contract, just leave, go to another club, because I don't think that he is. Because if he stays, he runs the risk of really, really dropping his value down to the ground, to the point where he's not going to be able to move to a big club again in his next move after that contract extension. So I think he should leave, go and find a new club. The problem is, I don't think that we have the capacity to bring in a new goalkeeper. So that's my fear, is that we're going to end up in this situation where we fail to negotiate the contract with David De Gea, so he leaves, and actually we're not able to bring a goalkeeper in, and then we're stuck with second, third, fourth choice goalkeepers at the club. And that's way more frightening a proposition for me than David De Gea leaving the club. So it's just you have to just look at it and see which way do you think you want the club to go. So Brian, I'll come to you next. What do you think?
Man, how far the mighty have fallen. Manchester United are in a place now where they can be bullied by the people that they employ. How's that work?
Yeah.
How are you going to get bullied?
United.
How's Manchester United getting bullied?
Big man Manchester United, you know.
How's Manchester United getting bullied by the person, by a player whose checks they sign? Are you
Who's not even that good? Who's not even that good?
Anymore.
Yeah, anymore. Like it's a frustrating thing, because for me, like, here's my thing. I think that David De Gea does not want to be number 2 at Manchester United. He feels like he's too good for that. He's too good for that. So the fact that he was being told, I feel like he's just trying to wait everything out, because I feel like he got told when Ten Hag said before the FA Cup final, I love David De Gea, but I'm not going to pretend like he's always going to be my number 1. For me, De Gea's like, all right, well, I'm just going to start looking elsewhere. And then the club's like, fine, look. Like, go look.
Yeah.
Go look.
Ahead. Do you, innit?
Go look. And so for me, it feels like a teenage relationship. It does. Like, I'm going to go look somewhere else. Then go look. Fine, I will go look. Okay, go look. Like, that's like, it feels like a teenage relationship. It really does. And now De Gea's looked, and he's like, well, all these places, I don't want to go there, so I'm just going to stay here. You know, like, for me, I'm like, seriously, in the same way that Manchester United are willing to walk away from the Mason Mount deal in the same way that you're willing to stand your ground on Mason Mount, stand your ground on David De Gea and figure it out. Seriously, simple. Just figure it out. Like, here's the thing: if they don't have a plan right now for goalkeeper, what are you paying these people in these directors' positions to make footballing decisions for? Sit in a room and figure it out. Sit in a room and figure it out. Like, it's not like the transfer. Don't make a big deal about trying to get somebody on the plane for preseason. Figure it out. If they can get in partway through preseason, if they can get in before the beginning of the season, figure it out. Like, if you don't think David De Gea is good enough to start for Manchester United, for Erik ten Hag going into next season, then do right by your manager and get him a better goalkeeper. Simple. Just get him a better goalkeeper.
Do you think that this is a 2-part question?
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to the narrative that David De Gea can't be coached to improve in the aspects of his game that we think he needs to improve? That's part 1. Part 2 is, would you take an unhappy De Gea staying at the club when we know he's not good enough anyway? But then if he is unhappy, it'll probably make it worse, because I think if he stays, he will be unhappy, because I don't think that he will get the I don't think he'll get the satisfaction that he needs to get as a goalkeeper, because I think he might even be benched for a much lesser keeper, I think, eventually across the season. So would you take, an unhappy De Gea at the club, but at least we've got a goalkeeper rather than going, staying with the number 2s and number 3s? Or would you say, look, David, just you just go away. Don't worry about it. Just go away. Leave it. We'll just stick. We'll stick with these guys, and we'll try and see how we can get through the season.
Yeah. Yeah. No, go ahead, Trinell. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Who are we going to be stuck with? Because we ain't got no goalies.
I don't know. This is the point. This is the whole point.
We're supposedly selling Dean Henderson. That's one goalie that's gone. Jack Butland was here. He's gone. Tom Heaton is meant to be leaving.
He gone.
So David De Gea technically isn't here. So that's 4 goalies gone. So who are we bringing in?
I don't know.
I love our
no
club.
Idea.
I love our club. I love Man United.
How have we ended up here? How?
Anybody who's saying
Manchester United,
anybody
Honestly.
who's saying the transfer window for Manchester United has not been interesting or watching the wrong things. We don't have a goalkeeper, y'all.
God.
This is the most fun I've had all summer.
Ended up here.
We're about to put Bruno back there, bro.
So Trinell, basically, that's those are your options. It's either David De Gea unhappy or no goalkeeper at all.
Exactly. So you can't get rid of him until we should have been looking for replacement goalkeepers or buying a keeper before we let his contract get this bad. Anyway, it's I don't know with this club.
Do you know what's bad? What's really bad, Trinell? What's really bad is we might have to buy 2 goalkeepers. You need a substitute goalkeeper.
Well, the problem is as well, Ten Hag's a manager that actually likes to have 3 goalkeepers fighting for a position. So again, have we got the transfer budget to go and buy 3 keepers?
Oh my word!
Look, man,
how have we got here? How the hell have we got here?
Here's my thing, right? Like, I feel like I could be wrong about this. So if you feel like I'm wrong or you disagree, like, please, like, feel free we can have that conversation. I feel like Erik ten Hag is the first manager that I've seen since David De Gea has been here to stand up and say, actually, I don't like you. I think Erik ten Hag is the first manager to say, yeah, thank you for your service, but I want better.
You're not good enough.
And for me, I want, and I do believe that the relationship that's being built between Fletcher, Murta, and Ten Hag is a work in progress. And so I'm operating under the assumption that these like rough spots that we're like the ones we're in right now, which is not their fault, by the way, it's their owner's fault. I feel like these rough spots will get smoothed over the longer that these 3 work together, and they'll be able to plan better going forward. Right? We had no targets last summer, and we just bought players that Erik ten Hag suggested. Right? Yeah. So like we're already a step up from where we were last summer. So for me, we need to back the manager, bring in his players instead of saying, yeah, I hear you, and I know you see these players more than us, but we think you're wrong, and we're going to do what we want to do. Like, let's not do that anymore. If Erik ten Hag wants to so for me, I would rather us get rid of De Gea. Let's stand our ground. Let's move the buck forward properly. Let's get rid of De Gea. If we say we don't want him, if we say he's not going to be the number 1, let's move him on, bring in another goalkeeper, and move forward onto different targets. I'd rather that than just being afraid of the unknown and not making a decision, which could actually hurt our season. Like, that's poor management in my mind. Like, indecision doesn't, and we've been operating on indecision for so long. Well, what if? And it's just like I feel like a lot of these people in charge have been operating on what ifs, right? Jose Mourinho wants a Jerome Boateng, and well, what if Jerome Boateng doesn't work out when you have Chris Smalling? Like, Chris Smalling's not good enough for me. I don't want him, right? So, like, get me a player that I actually want. And like, no, you got Chris Smalling. Just make it work. It's like, what if
just make it work somehow? Make it magically work.
And it's always the longer I've watched football as an American on this side and not understanding all the things like culturally and how things, but the longer I've educated myself, it's always easy. If you can buy new, buy new. That's just in life. If you can buy new, buy new. It's easier to buy. It's better to buy something new that you can trust than to refurbish something that might break.
Yeah.
And we've tried to refurbish De Gea and it ain't working. So buy new.
No, but he's been an author of his own demise, because David De Gea, the things that he was good at, that we loved him for, he somehow has forgotten all those things now. He doesn't want to do them anymore. He doesn't want to save shots. He doesn't want to command the box. He doesn't want to be proactive playing out. These are things that he's displayed before. He's showed us he could do them before, but somehow he decided, I can't be bothered now. I'm going to stop doing all these good things that I need to do. So that's his own problem, Jimmy, unfortunately.
And you know, one other thing I'll say on De Gea, when you have prior to Phil Jones, like I'm not sure if Phil Jones has already left. So prior to Phil Jones leaving, the last vestige of Premier League winners we had in this squad were Phil Jones and David De Gea. So like there's a level of which in my mind, I know Trinell, I know I feel it, but like there's a level of which I feel like David De Gea is using that as a bargaining chip within the squad to have some level of seniority to say, no, you don't tell me what to do. I've won a Premier League. I tell you what to do. Why do you think we've heard? Why do you think he doesn't? He can't get along with any of his center backs, but the center backs are the problem. Come on. He can't get along. He has issues with Lindelof. He has issues with Martinez. He has issues with Maguire. And they're the issue, not the goalkeeper. Come on. Like, come on. For me,
it's worrying. It is worrying.
For me, it's like, I think there's a level, I think there's an attitude issue there with De Gea being like, I've won a Premier League. I have seniority. I've been here longer than you. I know more about this club than you. You do what I tell you. So it makes it's hard to coach somebody like that. It's hard to tell somebody in game how they need to make adjustments. Like Lisandro Martinez, who just signed, has no authority to tell De Gea, who's been here close to over 10 years, to come out of his box for a cross on a corner kick. He has no authority to do that. He has none. So like De Gea is using that as a bargaining chip to get one over on the players. And Erik ten Hag is stepping in and saying, I need better. I need different. And De Gea is trying to use it against the club now. He's now trying to use it against the club. Man, we were this close to giving him to Madrid anyway, and fax machine didn't work.
The fax machine broke, innit?
Leave, bro.
And do you know what? Do you know what?
What year was that again?
It was like his third year here. It was Louis Van Gaal.
Was it?
Well, it was Louis Van Gaal's
Were they still using fax machines? Why are they still using fax machines?
No, these idiots, man. They still use fax machines.
It was I'm pretty sure it was Van Gaal's first year in charge that took place.
They still use fax machines. I can't believe it.
That's my running. Look, we're on no agendas. That's my running De Gea agenda. That he's using seniority over the club and players to stay here when he knows he's not good enough to do it anymore. That's my running De Gea agenda on no agendas. I'm saying it.
Do you know what?
Yeah, go on, Chino.
Yeah. Do you know what? He might not be the only player that's actually using that as a bargaining chip, or just how long they've been here. Because I could see the same thing happening with Harry Maguire, and that's why he's trying to stay.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to go from being captain of Manchester United to not playing for Man United. I don't blame him. It's hard.
If we get a chance, so. I mean, obviously, we were linked with Onana for a few days, and that disappeared quite quickly. So I think
those are good days.
It was a nice day. It was good. I got excited for a day. I was giddy, and then no, it wasn't true. There was no truth in it whatsoever. But I was excited because he's been, he's top of my list now. It was always Raya was top of my list, but now I've got Onana there just because. I want a bit of a madman again at in goal. I want a goalkeeper that's going to be responsible for everything that happens in that area. He's in charge. I want to feel like he's in charge. And Onana gives me that. I think Raya gives me quite a bit of that. People have obviously mentioned Martinez, Diogo Costa, and all these other keepers. Now, if we are going to buy a goalkeeper, what's the price that you guys are saying this is acceptable for a goalkeeper? Because we need one. We should be able to go up to this amount of money to buy a goalkeeper that's actually going to be good for the team, can play out from the back, can command the box, is proactive in how we play and in building up play. What's the realistic price that you're saying we're going to have to pay this if we're going to get a good goalkeeper? I'll go with you, Chanel. I'll let you start.
Yeah. Oh, okay. 40 million. I think that's what it should take to go out, get a Nana if that's the keeper. A Diogo Costa, I think that's his name. I'll be honest, I haven't seen that much of him, so I don't want to comment. Yeah, 40 mil. We just need to hurry up and get something done because it's like I don't know what we're doing. Look
we're
at
not
the
doing
teams.
anything. That's the problem. We're not doing anything.
Well,
this is the problem, isn't it?
And then you've got them coming out and saying, "Oh, they're not going to sanction any transfers until the takeover." Well, I don't think that takeover is actually going to happen until the season has started. No, that's just me, but yeah,
I'm
40
getting in the
million for a
comments.
goalie.
In the comments, I've got 55 million in the comments. Got someone willing to go to 55 million. Just think, Onana is being quoted at 75 to 80 million.
Is that euros or sterling?
That's euros.
So what's that? 60 mil, 65 or so?
65 million. It's about 65 million.
Not after that stinker he had in the Champions League final. He ain't going for that much.
So you're telling me
Oh yeah, he had a stink. Oh yes.
That price is going down 10 mil. I'm pulling the.
It must have gone down.
If there's a Man United tax, there's got to be a stinker in the final tax, and we're putting it on Onana.
Yeah, he's yeah. That wasn't good. That was not a good advert.
He's a great goalkeeper. He's a great goalkeeper, but that was not a good game.
Look, Onana's quoted at 45.2 million. I'm being told now.
Oh, so there you go. Oh, well, there you go. 30 something mil. And we got changed.
42 million pounds sterling.
Yeah, man.
There.
Yeah.
Just make it happen.
About right, I think. But do you think I'll come to you in a bit, Brian, but do you think if Onana comes in, does he make the difference?
Yeah.
You think it does? You think he makes the difference?
I think he makes a difference in terms of the centre backs ain't got to be worried if they're going to get hit by the ball or if the ball's going to be played short. Then they get caught on the ball by a striker or a winger. You can be comfortable that he can actually clip a ball to a centre midfielder, a fullback, or even a centre forward, whatever. He's going to come off his line. He's a bit crazy, but what keeper isn't crazy?
He's an absolute lunatic.
Yeah, do you know what? I take him. Just go and get it done. That's all I can say.
Brian, I'll come to you next then with tell me what your ceiling price is, and then tell me whether you think Onana would be the difference. So he's the difference to the team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 40, 45, somewhere around there will be a cap for a goalkeeper for me. It's weird because I feel like the market to me doesn't make sense anymore. So I feel like you're really at the mercy of whoever you're wanting to buy from and what they value the player at, which is not changed, but the prices are so inflated now. But if we get a goalkeeper for 40 to 45, I think I'd be okay with that. And I think if we brought in a player like Onana, I think he would make a difference. I don't think he'd be the difference personally.
Yeah.
I think he would plug a gap in the team.
Yeah.
And that would be, I think he would instill more confidence in our back line, which would make them play at a higher level.
I think that's really important. That's a really, really important point. I think that's,
which is great. Like if you can trust the person behind you, I think that raises a level. There's still gaps at fullback. There's still gaps in midfield. There's a massive gap at striker. So for me, I think one of the biggest difference makers, I think a player coming in at striker of a really high level of quality makes the difference in this current team for me.
Yeah.
If not a striker, some hybrid attacking forward player that can make all of our forward players better, that can help improve the entirety of the front line. That's whether that's a traditional 9, whether it's not. I think because I think we have a lot of specialists. We have a lot of specialists in the team, and we need some players to help them just be specialists. In my mind,
there's a interesting comment here from Kapembo saying, "I don't want Onana. I love Kale's football, but that guy is too much for me."
It would be so fun. It would make every week fun.
And you know what? I've seen him sometimes, and I'm like, "Yo, this kid is mad. This kid is a fruitcake, man. This guy is mentalist, absolute mentalist. He's literally." And this is, I watched the match where it's like they've scored early. They've scored like 10 minutes into the match or whatever. And 15 minutes in, he's like in the opposition half. Like he's trying to start attacks. And I'm like, this kid is he's a fruit bag. He's absolute lunatic. Absolute lunatic. So I get that sentiment as well to say, you know, I love Kale's football, but that guy is too much for me. So Kapemba, I get your point there, my brother. Just before we finish off, we'll have a quick conversation, which is another dividing conversation. Jadon Sancho.
Yo, what are you lot doing? Don't do this. Come on, you know this is my boy.
No, Chanel, you know, if you get one thing from me, you'll get a balanced opinion. I'm not a sensationalist. Jadon Sancho. Look, Chanel. All I'm going to say is, Jadon Sancho, go. You go. I'll let you go. I'll let you go in whatever direction you want to go with that. Jadon Sancho, go.
All right, cool. For my boy's career, just leave this club, right? But if I'm going to be selfish, I want him to stay here because I don't think any of our wingers are as talented as him, but we can't rely on just talent. It's a hard one because I want him to succeed, but this club isn't really built for technical footballers. I'm going to be honest. The fan base. I didn't know
there was a Sancho Defense League. I didn't know there was a Sancho.
Oh yeah, all day.
It's here.
I didn't even know it. I don't even know it was existing, bro. I didn't even know.
It's existed. But this fan base doesn't allow technical footballers to flourish. Tell me, in the past 6-7 years, possibly, what technical footballer that this club has signed we've had that's actually flourished at this club? We're allergic to technical footballers. We just want the Scott McTominays, let's run down here, let's do this, grab the badge.
And then we wonder why we can't control games.
Yeah. It's true. And then you're going to say, I wish Scott McTominay could do this, but you hounded out a player that could do that. You got rid of him.
Yeah.
This fan base doesn't know what they want. They moan at Marcus Rashford. Oh, you run down dark alleys. Here, score 30. Oh, he's the world class. This. Oh, Sancho, he can't beat a player. Oh, but he does this. This fan base doesn't know what they want. And to the question, is Sancho worth more than 45 million? in this day and age of football, yes, he is. He's more talented than Mason Mount. So yes, he is. He's worth more 45 million and more than what Chelsea value Mount at. I look at Jack Grealish. He went for 100 million. He is the meatiest footballer I've ever seen in my life. He does not see no pictures in the game.
Talk
He
your
runs.
shit, bro. Talk your shit. Talk your shit. Talk your shit. I like it. Talk your shit.
Literally gets the ball, runs diagonally. He occasionally will play a through pass. If not, let him get 5 yards at most, and he's going to fall down, pull up his sock a little bit, and pull his Alice band up his hair. That's it. But this fan base want to say that Sancho's not worth more than 45 million, and he doesn't allow it. Sancho, yeah, that's the player that we should actually be building our attack around.
Ooh, man's taking it there, you know. He's taking it. Oh, yo, whoa. Big statement. That's a big statement. That's a headline. That would be the one that's in the back of the papers that Chanel said Manchester United, to be successful, should build their attack around Jadon Sancho. That's the headline right there. Big banner headline right there. Just, you know, just note that, people. Note that. So do you think that if you keep Sancho, this is to you, Chanel, if you keep Sancho, are you saying he should be one of the main points of focus for the attack for
100%.
next season for Ten Hag?
100%.
Really?
Name me another left winger that we have that can actually pick up the ball, find space, find a pass, has actually calm inside the box that they can pick a pass or score. Do you know what I mean? We haven't got that from one of our left wingers. And you know what? We haven't even got that with a right winger, because Anthony, yeah, he may come good, possibly, but he's very erratic. He doesn't see pictures a lot. There's times where he could slide the centre forward in, but no, he's going to try that same shot, try and curl it. It's going to go wide. And tell me another winger that we've got that's more talented than Sancho that can do the things and see the picture. I know people in the comments or on Spaces, whatever, they'll be saying, "Oh, Garnacho." No, Garnacho, very talented youngster. Don't get me wrong, but he's too young for it at the moment, right? Too raw, and he's better coming off the bench. So do not ever look to start him.
I think I'll agree with that. I will agree with that. The fact that I think he's better coming off the bench. I really do. So far, anyway.
And if we don't end up signing any attackers, because it's looking like we're not going to sign anyone at the moment anyway, but if we don't sign any attackers and we go and fill other positions, then Sancho on the left, Rashford down the middle, and Anthony out on the right, and we'll go from there. But yeah, build the attack through Sancho. Build it around him.
Wow, big points. Big points there. Appreciate that, my brother. Yeah, go on, Brian. What do you think, man? Sancho, go.
I got to follow that up. That's good. Okay. I do think Sancho is worth more than 45 mil. I do. Yeah, he didn't have a great season this past season. And I think that I've mentioned this about Sancho before. Like I'm not in the camp where I think Sancho has to be sold. But if there was a winger that was going to be sold, it would be him. Because he came into a tumultuous Manchester United side that was Ali got fired. The manager who bought him got fired, and then Rangnick came in, and God knows what he did to the team. So nobody thrived, right? Nobody thrived, and then he comes in, and I don't think anybody's issues with Jadon Sancho have anything to do with his ability. I think everything has to do with his application. Everything has to do with his application. I think if you were to go into if we were to go into a space and say Sancho is the most talented winger we have at the football club, nobody should disagree with you. But when it comes to
surprised.
I said nobody should. I said nobody should.
I know.
But I also think that Manchester United right now are flush with they're flush with talented wingers. I do think that. Like wide players, I think that Manchester United have some talented wide players right now. And Sancho's a part of that group. So there's a lot of competition in his position right now. But what I will say is that people look at him and they're like, him beating a man, I don't think has anything to do with ability. I think it has to do with confidence.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Anthony has confidence in bags. Yeah. Even if his ability lets him down.
His ability isn't there. Yeah, his confidence is at a 10 all the time.
He's got confidence in bags. My guy did a spin in the middle of the game for no reason, and it didn't phase him.
Facts.
He got like Marcus Rashford has confidence in bags when he runs down dark alleys. Garnacho has confidence in bags. Sancho looks like the least confident wide player that we have. Palestri got limited minutes and is going around players on the touchline with raw pace. And people look at Sancho and they're like, why can't you do that? And I feel like it has everything to do with confidence. So like for me, that's his biggest thing is like, I just want to see Sancho be more confident as a footballer. And I think that if he grows in his confidence, then man, we have a serious player on our hands. That's why I'm willing to keep Sancho. I'm willing to keep Sancho and give him another season. But if Manchester United got 60 plus mil for him as an offer, sell him.
Do you agree with Tranel that if Sancho stays at the club, he should be the focal point of the starting of our attacks? He should be considered as one of the main focus points of our attacks.
I don't think so. No.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I like Sancho. Like I try to be balanced. Like I remember people were like going on and on about Anthony earlier this year. And I'm like, bro, Anthony and Sancho are like, as far as production went this past season, in a lot of ways they were cut from the same cloth. Anthony fought his way into the team above Sancho, in my opinion. He fought his way into the team. Like he gets back, he snaps into tackles, he gets in people's faces, he fights, and that's what gets him in the team above a Jadon Sancho. It's not his ability.
Yeah.
So, like for me, if Sancho, like Anthony tries stuff, Sancho doesn't. He may try it once. I think about the Bournemouth game. Man, the Bournemouth game, Sancho got so many reps on that left side, and he couldn't beat a man, and he wouldn't try. He wouldn't try. And like Garnacho comes on, goes through two players and gets fouled at the top of the 18. Yeah. You're like, that's why you don't play, bro. That's why you don't play. Like it's like, are you afraid of getting cut down by a defender? Are you afraid of getting tackled hard? Like,
it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. It's weird. Like, it's very, very strange because
he's just following the manager's instructions.
and hey,
but Tranel, I know you say jokingly, but I actually do think that sometimes the manager's instructions have limited Jadon Sancho in terms of what he's willing to try. Now, I'm not making excuses for him. Please don't kill me, but I'm saying. There's been times where when you watch him, it feels like, I wish I could go there, but I can't go there because the manager wants me to be here. When the ball's there, he wants me to be in this area here. So I'm sorry, I can't get involved over there at the moment. It looks a bit like that at the moment. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it does look like that sometimes.
And Ten Hag has said him. No, sorry. I was going to say real quick. And Ten Hag has said himself that taking a Jadon Sancho off the pitch and subbing on an Anthony softens up a defender for Anthony just doing whatever he wants.
Whatever,
right?
Yeah.
It softens them up. Like, so if we have a bad 10-minute spell and Sancho picks up the ball, I would imagine Ten Hag would be screaming at Sancho, keep the ball, please keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball. And Sancho may see a pass. He's like, I can make this pass. I can create this chance. But you want me to keep the ball, so I'm going to keep the ball. Like, and I don't count that against Sancho. I guess my thing is like, when every game is like that, is Ten Hag never telling you to try stuff?
Yeah, but
You know?
I see.
I
I
don't know. I
refuse
don't
to
know.
believe that. I refuse to believe that Ten Hag is not allowing these players to think on their feet, because the same thing has been said, and I've said that. I think that he gives Sancho very specific instructions, and I think that's part of him trying to improve the player mentality-wise. I think he's looking to improve him almost away from having the ball. He's trying to improve the way he sees the game. So I think he's giving him very specific instructions in how to read the game a little bit better. So he might look a bit poor for one season, but actually the following season, if he's taken these instructions in, he's going to look like a much, much better player, because he would have understood the manager's desires in terms of how he wants the team to play a lot better than he did this season. So that's what I'm hoping for. However, I don't believe that Ten Hag doesn't say, hey, look, but if none of these are working, just do you in it. Like I would like to believe that Ten Hag's saying, if my instructions are not working in any situation, do you. You're a talented footballer. Do what you think is best. I can't see why he wouldn't allow the players to do that. So I can make excuses for him for the manager's instructions, but I think at some point you just have to grab it and and go with it and try and play football. Just before we end, transfers, we've obviously speculation after speculation after speculation. And to you guys, what does a bad transfer window look like, and what does a good transfer window look like to you? And try and summarize it as best as you can.
Oh God.
I'll start with you, Brian. I'll start with you.
Oh, I mean, a bad transfer window looks like. All right, so what's a bad transfer window look like? Well, not signing anybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that will happen. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that they won't sign anybody. But I feel so for me. I feel like a bad transfer window for me. It looks like not bringing in the players that the manager's confident will help move the team forward. So so for example, if we so this is one of the examples I'll use. If we don't sign the goalkeeper because we're unsure if we can get rid of De Gea or not, that hurts the window overall. If we think that getting rid of De Gea and bringing in somebody else will move the team forward. So like that's a big one for me. I feel like for me, like I understand Ten Hag's plan for the window, and so I want us to just be able to give the manager what he wants. If it's attainable, if the players are attainable at the prices that we like, go out and get those players. It doesn't really matter the number. It could be 3, it could be 5, it could be 14. It doesn't matter. The players that we bring in have to be able to impact the first team. That's what we need to improve at. So if it's Mount, if it's Caicedo, if it's Raya, if it's Hoyland, if it's Kane, they have to be able to come in.
Would you take both Mount and Caicedo in the same window?
Yeah,
you would.
What, we got that much money?
I don't know. No, I'm just saying we definitely don't.
No, but I'm saying, I'm talking about, best case scenario. If, the takeover happens tomorrow and they say, hey, bag on the table, boom. Would you take Mount and Caicedo?
No.
Okay.
Especially if the takeover. Sorry, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. If the takeover happens, say like tomorrow, then that's the worst. That's the worst transfer window for us to even look at Mount. I'm sorry, but if the Qataris come in, I've got my eyes on bigger things. I'm going to get a Kylian Mbappe. I'm going to get a Frankie de Jong.
You like shiny players, don't you? Honestly,
I like talented players.
You like shiny players, man. You just always like shiny players.
Mason Mount's talented. Mason Mount's a talented player.
Not my talented.
Fair. He wants diamonds every time, man. Every time.
I just think if the Qataris come in, we've got to look for bigger things. And yeah, you might go and get a Casado, get a Frankie de Jong. You go out and you go and you still get Rabiot on a free. You go and get a Kylian Mbappe. Let's actually stop going and buying some of these bums that we actually buy. Why are we going and spending 70 million on a 31-year-old Casemiro? No, don't do that. Let's go out and get something else. That's just
point.
me anyway.
That's a fair point. I can't, usually I would defend Casemiro to the max, but I can't argue with that point. It's a good, it's a good point. I can't disagree with that at all. I can't disagree with that. Brian, I believe you've told me what your worst case scenario is for the window. What's the best case scenario? What's the successful window?
Man, a successful window for me is, I think, if we're able to bring in a new goalkeeper, maybe a midfielder that's
like familiar names that you've got, like familiar names, or you're saying you don't mind a prospect from somewhere that might not be a shiny piece of jewelry right now, but actually they're looking like they could be something.
I don't know. Maybe I'm naive for doing this, but I mean, I trust Ten Hag's talent ID. So like if Ten Hag brings in a player that he believes can make the first team better, I trust that he knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, So for me, if we can bring in, I don't care. I don't care if it's Andre Onana. It could be somebody that like I've never heard of before. Like it's our job to educate ourselves on the players, not Ten Hag's. Yeah. So it's our job to educate ourselves on who they're interested in, not the other way around. Like, or we can just wait and see. That's fun. But I feel like bringing a new goalkeeper. I like to see a couple of midfielders and I like to see a striker. And for me, I think that a striker doesn't necessarily have to be a Harry Kane. Man, that would be amazing. If we were going to get Harry Kane, we probably wouldn't sign him until close to September. Like,
I'm one of the only people that I must be one of the only people that say no to Harry Kane.
He's incredible.
Listen, wait. No, listen. I'll right on that bombshell. I'll come to you then, Chanel. I need you to tell me what your worst case scenario for a window is and best case scenario for a transfer window.
Worst case scenario is if De Gea stays here, we sell Sancho. You can say replace him with Mason Mount. Can
Mount play on the left? He can play on the left, can't he? He can play on the left.
I believe I've seen him play out on the left before. I'm not 100% sure. So people in the comments,
he's Money Mace, bro. He can play anywhere.
Money Mace.
Anywhere but Old Trafford. But
fair. All right.
Oh my god.
I just think that would be worst case scenario. I'm one of the maybe one of the fewest fans that don't want Harry Kane. I just don't want him.
You don't want him, or you're just not bothered?
Not at all.
You don't want him?
I don't want him full stop. I do not rate him.
What? No,
I don't rate Harry Kane.
You can't just say that and then just expect us to move on from that conversation. You're going to have to explain yourself.
Yeah, how do you not rate him?
What are you talking about?
I just don't believe he's not the centre forward that I would go and get.
Are you broken? Have you not been? Are you broken? Are you having a laugh?
He is the definition of a complete forward. He has it all. He has it all.
Why would you not want Harry Kane? Please tell me why. Please tell me. Give me a reason.
He has it all.
Look, I look at it this way. You've spent all your years at Tottenham. You supposedly made noise to leave for Man City the other season. You didn't. You've gone back, obviously, at Tottenham.
So loyalty is a problem now. Is that what we're saying?
No. I don't think he's got the kahunas. I'm going to be honest. Listen,
what does that even mean?
No, you can score all the goals you want for Tottenham, right? So don't get your move to Man City, right? But every time your mentality needed to be the man. The World Cup. Go and put that ball in the net. Can I say shit?
You
already have.
Yeah, we're not.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
spoke
sorry.
too many times. This won't be
Sorry.
monetized
Right.
anyway. It's fine.
He shit his pants, missed the penalty. Champions League final. When your club will never ever get there again. Harry Kane, what did you do? Listen, when he's needed to step up in them occasions, he can't. Man United
There's
is a
something wrong
different
with you,
animal. Man United's a different animal to Tottenham. The expectations are different high. So I don't see Harry Kane having the right mentality coming here. Yet I just don't see him firing us to anything because he can't fire Tottenham. And don't tell me that Tottenham haven't had the players around him, because they have.
Not
It's
in like
just
5 years.
So
they've
you're
had
telling
the players
me
around him.
you're telling me that the midfielders that Harry Kane has had in his career at
Yep.
Tottenham Hotspurs,
They've
especially in the
been
last
garbage.
6-7 years,
Hang on,
and
what, so
he's consistently producing 25 goals a season. You are telling me that this striker is not good enough to play in the Manchester United team
No.
that has Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, and potentially Mason Mount in midfield. You're telling me that you don't expect that.
He would eat.
That midfield stinks. Casemiro, Bruno,
This
and
guy, honestly,
Mason Mount stinks.
They would create. So that dude would be. He'd be putting up real numbers.
I have no further
Did
questions.
you see the midfield that Harry Kane had? He had a young, actually wanting to play football, Dele Alli. He had a Christian Eriksen. He had a Dembele. He's had this.
And he was bagging 25 goals with all of them. He was bagging 25 goals with all of them, man, there.
Yeah. And then when his team needed him, where was he? Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, but name his midfield now. Because old dude scored 30 goals this season in the Premier League.
Bentancur, Højbjerg.
You scored 30 goals this season.
Bentancur and Højbjerg is a better midfield than having flipping Bruno and Mason Mount and Casemiro. Casemiro gets bypassed all the time, but our fan base don't want to talk.
Neither of those players are better than Casemiro. Neither one.
Yeah, Casemiro ain't all that. I wouldn't assign Casemiro because he's not the holding midfielder that I would look.
Casemiro single-handedly lowered our expected goals against this season.
You know what it is, Brian? You know what it is? You know what it is? Tranel's negative for the sake of it sometimes. Like, he just
that's fair.
He's negative by nature.
Look at his smile, bro. Look at that.
I know. He loves it.
Smile, bro.
He relishes in it. He loves it, bro. I swear to God, he loves this negativity. He loves it.
I'll be honest. I just don't rate Harry Kane. I'm going to be honest. I just don't rate him. I know loads of people rate him, but look, expectations come. Manchester United is astronomically.
So what's your best window then? What's your best case scenario for transfers? Transfer window.
That Sheikh Jassim comes in. We get Kylian Mbappe. We get Frankie de Jong. We absolutely blow Arsenal out the park and go and get Timber. We go and get Frimpong. Yeah, we get Rabiot. And you know what? I know this fan base might not want him, but go and get me Neymar. I'm sorry. I need to see some talent at Man United. Listen, we've got Jogo Bonito on the right hand side, and that's meaty. Go and get me a proper Brazilian that can actually play football. Because I've had to suffer for the past 6 years watching Fred and now watching Anthony. It's horrible. I can't watch a Brazilian do that.
I bet you were. I bet you weren't feeling that way when Anthony knocked out Barcelona.
Hey, my boy did his thing, you know. My boy showed up, brother. My boy showed up. He showed up.
And you know who
he had a fresh trim and everything, bro. He had a fresh trim and everything, bro.
And you know who didn't show up against Barcelona? You know who didn't show up against Barcelona? Jadon Sancho.
Your boy was missing, bro. Your boy was missing, brother. We couldn't see. My man had binoculars on looking for my man in it. I couldn't see him in that match, bro. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I like him.
I like Sancho.
My worst case scenario for a transfer is that we lose De Gea, don't sign a goalkeeper. That's a scary thought for me. Very scary. Obviously, I don't want De Gea there, but I'd rather he stayed if it means we're not getting another keeper. Best case scenario: Caicedo, Harry Kane. I'm gonna go with Rabiot as well because I don't know. There's something about him that I like. I'm gonna go with Rabiot as well.
No Mason Mount.
Mason Mount and Højlund.
Yes.
I want both Højlund and Kane to come to Manchester United. Thank you.
That'd be amazing.
Oh,
we would eat. We would eat.
I want to go back. I want to go back to 4-4-2. You know them days there, but 4-4-2 days, brother.
I don't mind bring that Højlund in, but
going all out. But realistically, I think either Harry Kane or Højlund is fine. But I do want to. I hope we get a striker. I really do. I hope we get a proper striker because I think it's going to make a huge difference to our season. I think it's going to make a huge difference in those games that we struggle in, that we can't. We haven't got control of the game. At least we can still nick goals here and there from a prolific striker. So I think that would be really, really handy. But listen, we're going to have to lock it down now. Big up to all the listeners, everyone in the comments. Big up. Follow everyone here. Follow myself. Follow Chanel. Follow Bryant. All our usernames are on the display names there. So big up to everyone, man. I really appreciate you guys showing up. We had lots of technical difficulties today, so I couldn't get on for ages. But we managed to get there in the end. Big up Danny, Devil in the details. He's not able to be with us today here, but he's going to run the next one as usual. So, but big up, guys. Thank you very much, man. Chanel, appreciate you being here, man.
Big up, Brian. Big up, Jimmy.
Please make sure you come back.
I will. I'll be here.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, guys. Nice one. Big up, everyone. Hit the like button, subscribe to Danny's channel as well so that you can make sure that you get the notifications for the next ones. Right, bless everyone. Good night, man.
Night.